tutorial, and this is going to be on the Wet n Wild brushes that everyone lost their mind over, the pink and white ones. I don't even know what the name of this collection is, but they released a couple of these brushes at Walgreens. I mean, probably like 3, and they sold out. And they would restock and they sold out, and they would restock and they sold out. Finally, they did a whole collection on these cruelty-free vegan brushes, and just people went bonkers over them. So I waited for months for them all to come back in stock so that I could do a review for you guys. I always like to look for affordable or alternative options when it comes to beauty tools, because you guys know that my favorite tools are like the Beauty Blender or Wayne Goss brushes, and sometimes those can be, you know, unattainable for some because they are a little bit more expensive. But I also have favorite brushes that I can't live without, like Real Techniques or the $1 shader brush from e.l.f. That is my ride or die brush for every eyeshadow look that I do. So the possibility of finding good quality tools at affordable prices exists. So there is no rule that says that your beauty tools have to be crazy expensive or they have to be made from Blue Squirrel or handcrafted in Japan. That's not a rule. That doesn't automatically make something a great brush. So I waited until all these brushes came back in stock. I purchased one of each and I decided to try them out for you. So what I'm gonna do is I will do almost like a hits and misses when it comes down to these brushes. I will tell you what it's supposedly for, if I liked it. If I did a clip, I did a lot of clips of me using these brushes so that you guys could see them in action. So if there's a clip, I'll insert that as well, and I will tell you the price of the product. All of these I got directly from wetnwild.com, and I signed up for their newsletter and got 10% off my purchase. So that might be something that you could do as well. So if you're like, oh, I need that brush, and that brush, sign up for their emails and you will get a discount code for 10% off, I believe. So let's go ahead and get started. I have my invoice here in front of me because I don't remember the names of these brushes or the price. That is probably, I guess we're starting off this review with a negative point, is that these brushes are not labeled, okay? Like there is no label on them, but I mean, when it comes down to tools, it could be a, I don't know, it could be a powder brush and you could use it for bronzer. You know what I mean? So tools are meant to be interpreted by the user, not necessarily by what's imprinted on the side or the handle. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't know how many brushes I have in front of me, so I could say, but all of the brushes come in these little plastic wrapper things. So you basically pop up the top and then pull out the brush from the inside of the sleeve. You could keep these sleeves if you want to put them away, but I'm not a big fan of these sleeves because I feel like they almost like oppress or constrain or restrict the brush too much, and it doesn't, you gotta let your brushes live, you know what I mean? Some brushes don't want to be flattened, some brushes don't want to be flattened by like little envelopes like these. So keep in mind that these brushes are cruelty-free, gluten-free, and vegan, and they are designed with a ergonomic handle, believe it or not. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're gonna start off with the angled liner brush. That's this little guy right here. I'm gonna show you guys sort of a close-up of the brush itself. It's a really basic angled brush. Now, the reason that I liked this brush is because it's a little bit smaller than most angled brushes that we may be familiar with. What I did notice with these brushes is that most of them lack density. When they need to be dense, they're not. And this, not necessarily one of them, but I do prefer a tighter angled brush because it gives me a little bit more precision when I'm doing like my eyeliner. But of course, it is the eye area, so if you want, it's always better to be softer than not, just so that it's not so rough on the tender or delicate skin around the eyes. So this one is definitely a winner in my book. Then we're gonna move on to the smoky liner brush. And this little guy, I actually thought, you know, automatically I assumed I was going to like it. because I'm like, okay, well, it's a short, dense brush. How difficult is it for it to be a good one? So for the smoky liner brush, I'm definitely gonna say you should probably pass on it. When it comes to a smudger brush or like a smoky liner brush, I prefer a natural bristle brush, and I prefer it to be a little bit shorter than this one and a little bit more stiff or dense. And this one is kind of floppy. It really doesn't do the job. And what I thought I would do instead is use it for the eyelid. So I tried to use it to apply color to the eyelid. It didn't work well for that either. So I'm just like, pass on that one. Then let's talk about the bent liner brush. That is just your classic bent liner brush. Nothing special in this one. I do love how fine the tip is. This kind of reminds me of, oh man, it was on the tip of my tongue too, and I was gonna pull it out. Oh, Delium Tools. Delium Tools has a fantastic liner brush. When you see it, you're like, this is worthless. It's not gonna do anything because it's so fine. You have like 3 hairs on the tip of this, and it's magnificent. It works great because it doesn't get too much product, and it gives you the liberty of building up slowly and not messing up, and that's really important. Plus, it's really good for looser products or looser potted products. This one though, I didn't like because I'm not a big fan of bent brushes. I've gotten so used to using or living in the right-handed people's world that when it comes to tools like this that are meant to facilitate application, I'd rather just it be a straight old brush and then I could just maneuver my way in using it. You know, it's not a miss, but it's definitely not one of my favorites because of the bent. But I mean, I knew that when I was gonna buy it, you know? The other thing is the bent that it has, the ferrule is a painted white ferrule. And so because it's bent, the paint is already flaking off of it. From the minute I opened it, the paint started flaking off, like big like paint chunks are falling off of it. Moving on to the small eyeshadow brush. This was a total like slip up for me. I actually reached for the wrong brush to apply my salmon colored concealer. This is the small eyeshadow brush, and I dipped it into a cream product, and when it was applying it, I was like, how come it's applying it kind of like patchy or gross? Like it's not really applying it the way a concealer brush does. Because I grabbed the wrong brush. So for that, it doesn't work. But if you do use it for powder eyeshadows, it's a really great brush. I was a little confused though, and I think that's partially the reason why I used it for concealer today, is the bristles feel really slippery. If you guys have ever used a concealer brush, a brush that's marketed as a concealer brush, they're flat and shiny and really stiff, and that really reminds me of what this feels like. So it's good for depositing eyeshadow, but it's definitely not the best eyeshadow brush that I've ever used. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know the $1 e.l.f. brush is amazing for color on the lid. It's a perfect brush. It's even great for smudging out the lower lash line. So if you guys are looking for a better alternative or a cheaper alternative or a drugstore brush that's good for that purpose, you guys, I'm falling asleep. What time is it? Oh my God, 11:20. So if you guys are looking for a cheaper alternative for just a classic eyeshadow brush for like the lid, you guys, that e.l.f. one, get like 7 of them. I swear to you, you're gonna be happy. Then let's move on to the large eyeshadow brush. This guy is really good. I really liked him for eyeshadow underneath my brow and down to my crease. You guys know I love to put eyeshadow from here all the way down to my crease to make it easy for colors to blend. It is a looser brush, so it's not gonna pack on color the way that my Delium Tools one does. So this one is good for a wash of eyeshadow. So if you want a wash of eyeshadow, if you want like a one eyeshadow look, this is a really great brush for that. If you want to do like, you know, I don't know, softening around the lid towards up to the crease. It's great for that. If you want to just even out the skin tone of your whole eyelid area, like just dust over like a vanilla shadow or like a skin tone or even like a camel color, it's really great for that. So I definitely recommend the large eyeshadow brush. I really like this one. Then moving on to the crease brush. I am so glad I got 2 of these because this crease brush is awesome. It is so soft and easy to use, and I really like it because of the shape of the actual brush. So the head of the brush is long and skinny, but you can use it in a way where you use it as a transition brush, like to really blow out color, or you could really concentrate it to the actual crease. It's a really promising brush. So it's great for beginners, especially if you're interested in the makeup world and you really want to, I don't know, perfect your craft and you're not really nervous about messing up a brush or you don't want to spend too much money. This crease brush is awesome. It reminds me a little bit, the results that it gives me remind me a little bit of the Sigma E40 or the Morphe 511. It's similar to that, but I actually think I prefer this one better because the bristles aren't so poof, they're not so spread out. So you can go and do the transition, but you could also focus on the crease and not blow the color up so much. So definitely a must-have. Now let's talk about the small and the large concealer brushes. They look like this. They really do look like a small and a large concealer brush. Nothing special out of these. I feel like when it comes to brushes in this collection that are flatter or thinner, the bristles feel a lot, they feel like nylon bristles. You know what I'm saying? Like if you guys have ever felt fishing line, that's what they feel like really slippery, shiny bristles. And when it comes to brushes, that type of feeling or material just is reminiscent of a really cheap brush. So when it comes down to, and here's another one, I'm just gonna jump ahead and throw this one into the mix as well. This is the foundation brush. So when it comes down to these paddle-like brushes or the ones that are for cream products, I'd say just go ahead and skip because they're too slippery. They don't give you the results that you really want. I mean, it's almost like they just drop the product, but they don't actually apply the product to the skin the way they're supposed to. I noticed with like the concealer brush, I deposited the product. I went in with another one of my synthetic brushes and just buffed it out like a dream. I could never do that with these. Moving on to a winner, this is their contour brush. And I'm not a big fan of contouring, you guys know that. I don't do it, I don't do it often, I hardly do it. I did it today just because I was feeling fancy. I was like, I can't do all this and then not do anything here. So I did it today. I filmed me using this brush and I was really surprised. You guys don't understand how many of these same format or types of contour brushes I've already used. There are so many marketed already that look just like this. They look almost like a angled blush brush, and they suck. They don't do a good job. They make it so hard to blend out the contour, and this one is a dream. A brush that I'm not even gonna get into because it's so horrific. I don't know how they even approve this brush is the fan brush. This brush is a joke. Like this isn't even a good brush to give to your little sister to play with and play pretend. It's a horrible brush. I hate to say that, but it's horrible. A brush that I did not use, I don't have an opinion on at all whatsoever, is the, what's this one called? Flat top brush. And that looks like this. I'm guessing this would be good for foundation. What I did notice though, I have 2 flat top brushes that I use in my collection personally and I love, and they're really dense. This one is really, really soft, almost like you could use it for like blush. It's really, really soft. So I don't know how good of a job it would do to apply foundation, but I am talking out of my elbows because I haven't used it. Okay, so there's that. Two winners, must-haves, add them to your cart. The stipple brushes, the small stipple brush and the large stipple brush. Here is a close-up of them. These are awesome for blending out the skin. So what I like to do, and it's kind of like a new trick that I picked up, is when I do my blush, highlight, contour, whatever, powder, I'll go in after each step and kind of just stipple my whole face so that I don't have all those harsh lines, and I feel like it just really smooths everything out really nicely. This large one is a dream. It sheds a little bit, you know, it's a little bit of a sheddy situation with it, but I don't really hold my breath too much when it comes to shedding or not shedding, because some of my favorite brushes that aren't this inexpensive also shed, you know, a lot. This is one that sheds a little bit more than I'm used to, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Same thing with the little one. The little one is great for cream products because it's really soft, so you could really buff in any cream products to this area of your face. Two more and we are done. The next one is the blush brush. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, when I opened this up, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna hate this. It's cheap, it sucks, I'm not gonna like it. Look, it's so flimsy. Oh, it's gonna suck. It is so good for blush. So good. It's so soft and delicious too. The only negative point of this brush is if you like to use stiff blushes like the Tarte Amazonian Clay ones, which are packed with pigment and they're great blushes, but they're stiff, this one will not pick up color. So keep that in mind. This is really great for softer blushes, really pigmented soft blushes. Really good for that because it's not going to really pack on too much color, but it will do a really, I mean, it's a really soft focused look. The result that you get with this brush. And this is one of the ones that is more of a shedder, kind of like the stipple brushes. Like the looser ones are a little bit more sheddy. The last brush is the powder brush, and that's this little chubber guy right here. I love that this powder brush has a shorter handle. I really like this guy for powder, but this is more of a this type of powder brush. You know what I'm saying? Not this type. You could still do this, which is what I like to do with powder brushes. This is how I use mine, but I feel like you get prettier results if you kind of just gently apply the powder like this. Do you guys like how I'm like modeling the brush for you guys? I definitely like this brush a lot. So like I said, the looser ones are more sheddier brushes. The tighter ones aren't, but they have like that silky nylon plasticky type bristle to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list and link these brushes in the description box below. I will definitely let you know which ones are my hits and my misses somehow in the description box below. So in case you guys are wondering which ones are total must-haves and which ones are like, whoa, no, 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 detour, avoid, big ditch in the city, like no. I will find a way to explain that to you in the description box below. But for now, if you guys wanted to know the die-hard must-haves, like must-haves, this doesn't mean that others sucked. This just means these are the ones that are great brushes and I recommend. I would say the crease brush, the contour brush, the stipple brushes, and the blush and powder brushes. These here are definitely must-haves when it comes to this Wet n Wild collection. I love that they are cruelty-free brushes. They are synthetic, which means they're going to be very easy to clean and they're not going to absorb a lot of your products. So these are definitely my must-haves. There are others here that are good, but they're not as good as those. So like I said, I will list them in the description box below. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to be as thorough as possible, especially when it comes down to affordable products, because just because they're cheap doesn't mean that you need to purchase them. How many times have you bought something because it's cheap and then you have to replace it multiple times when you could have just bought that one that you really wanted and avoid yourself the hassle of like a malfunctioning brush or a brush, you know, that falls apart or sheds too much or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to beauty tools, don't make them so replaceable. Find the ones that you really like, stick to them, make sure they're good quality, not expensive, good quality, so that you could keep them for a very long time. That's what beauty tools are for. They're meant to be adopted and loved for a very long time and be used over and over and over and over again. And like always, if you found this video useful, entertaining, or learned something, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye guys!